Welcome back to Mining Now. I'm your host, Jared Downey. Today on the show, we have, I believe, for sure, our longest client. My father is the owner of Savona Equipment, so I'm pretty familiar with them as well. They're a sponsor on the show. They're a tour sponsor. We've done tons of work together. I've interviewed Jordan, my brother, on the show, and today we're finally getting kicking and screaming David Karstein on Mining Now. David, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
That's a pretty good intro, eh?
Yeah.
It's been, I think we've been talking about getting you on it's 9 years now. We've had Crownsman. We've been doing the show for about 4 or 5 years.
So I've been busy, sorry.
Yeah, you've done really well at avoiding it, though. Okay, we're going to get into some projects with Savona, some of the work you've done over the years. But I want to highlight something right off the bat, is you've been working for the audience. He's my father, so I call him Dad in private, but just to make it a little more palatable for the interview, I'll call him Jerry.
Sure.
You've been working with Jerry now. I mean, you worked with him before he was even at Savona. He was in another equipment company.
Another business, yes. He hired me when I was 15 years old.
Wow.
It was, my mom said, go across the street and see if you can get a job. And I did that, and it's been a lot of fun since.
Yeah. Well, across the street, that must have been, I know the audience won't know the area, but out Savona, which is near Kamloops.
That's right, yes.
That's now, is that Duke Energy now across? So was there housing across the street
there used to be houses up there back when it was West Coast Energy.
Oh, okay.
And my dad worked for West Coast Energy. West Coast Transmission actually was what it was, and it's evolved. I don't even know if it's called Duke Energy anymore. It's another name now. Spectra, I believe it is.
Oh, okay. But I mean, Jerry himself, he must have been a young man at that point. He must have been. Well, he was
35 or something like that. Yeah.
He would have been younger because he didn't start till he was Savona was about 40, 39. So he would have been maybe 30, 29 at that time, because you worked with him for how long before Savona?
Probably 8 years, I guess.
8 years, yeah. Wow, that's wild. So I won't keep on this for too long, but it is interesting backstory. Savona's been a big supporter of the show. People know the brand, so we don't get a chance to really talk the sort of the history of the company. What was sort of the first roles you were doing when you just those first days?
I remember coming there. The first job I actually had was to replace railroad ties on a spur line that came into the yard. I was just a weak little character. I probably put on somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 pounds over the summer that I worked there for the first time.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a great experience, really. I learned lots of different things over the years. Worked on different pieces of mining equipment, but I also learned how to operate lots of different equipment, forklifts, loaders, dozers. I was operating a crane before I even had a license to drive, but it's just we had to do what had to get done.
Yeah, and then did you go jumping forward to when Jerry started Savona? Mm-hmm. Did you go right away with him, or did you stay at the other company for a while?
Stayed with the other company for a little while, and then Jerry, in I believe it was 1994, offered me a position in sales at Savona Equipment.
Oh, so you started in sales right away?
At Savona.
At Savona.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was day one you were doing this. What was your first sale? Do you remember?
I couldn't tell you for sure.
Really? You don't remember the first sale?
I don't remember. I'd have to look back in records. I just don't remember what that was.
But you hadn't done sales at the other company, though?
I had done sales for a little while.
Yeah.
I worked my way up. I had done lots of receiving reports. The equipment comes into the yard, and you have to jot down what it is so that the advertising department can get it out there. At that time, there was no internet, so you had to produce books with all the equipment in it.
Yeah.
And they needed information to put in the books. So
Yeah.
I was doing that for a while till I wound up getting into sales,
Yeah.
and eventually was offered the job with Savona Equipment.
Right.
Came back to work with Jerry.
Yeah, when I think of Savona, I think of, as a kid, there's four people that I think of. There's of course Dad.
Yep.
And then I think of Kane, who was the partner who started,
Yep.
or one of the partners that started
One of the
Savona
partners.
Equipment. He's
Yep.
since passed away. Loved. Just to take a moment with him, he was. I mean, you know him well. You guys used to carpool together. Just an amazing guy.
Yeah.
Every time he was done his work, every tool got wiped down.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Jerry's sort of the robust, let's go, let's get it done, and and Kane was the every detail's got. And I remember lifting a crane up north. No, sorry, not lifting a crane, a cone crusher up north, and just how he put it all together to lift that perfectly out. And it was just, and he wasn't an engineer, he was just meticulous. He was a mechanic, actually.
Well, he's a bit of a mentor for me. I learned lots from him too.
Yeah, amazing man.
Yeah.
And so I think of Kane, I think of you, and I think of Jim, Rory's dad.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's growing up. That was sort of the squad. What do you think? And then that's quite a commitment. You've now worked with him, with Jerry, for almost 40 years.
Something 44 years or something like that.
Something crazy.
Yeah,
And I think we could bring Kane into it. What do you think worked, in your opinion? I mean, that's a choice to stay there. I mean, I know you as a salesman. You're a great salesman. You could have done other things, and you stayed in that company. What do you think worked with that sort of that trio and that crew, and you and Jerry? And
Well, like you said, Jerry was kind of a just get at it type thing. Kane methodically thought things through better, and I was somewhere in the middle. You know.
I never thought of it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanted to get at it, but you kind of wanted to get the details in there too.
Yeah.
Well, you still do it. You're doing the tinkering, and you love all that sort of stuff. At the end of the show, we'll should bring up some of your projects. But I mean, yeah, lots of fun over the year. What just to sort of jump to now? What are some? I'm going to go back through some old projects, but what are some projects that are on the go right now? Sort of fast forwarding to today with Savona.
Well, we just actually finished moving a crushing plant off of the Sunshine Coast up into the interior, not far from us. It consisted of a jaw crusher, cone crusher, hopper feeder system for the crushers, 2 screens, half a dozen conveyors. The conveyors, I believe, are still sitting up just outside of Powell River, and I think there are 2 truckloads that still have to come up to the interior.
So was it intact when did you send a crew out there, or did you hire third party to go tear it down?
Third party,
okay.
and actually the owner that we purchased it from was involved with taking it apart for us. I believe he match marked some parts and pieces so that it was going to be easier for our customer to put back together.
So is that when a plant like that? So that's I'm assuming that's for sale right now then, right?
No, it's been sold.
Oh, it's been sold.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So that deal was already done. I thought you were going to be telling people that they could buy it, but anyway, I'm sure there's another one that'll come up.
I'm sure we can find another one.
Yeah. A project like that, is that how working condition is a plant like that in general, or does it need quite a bit of work?
That from what the owner told us, he maintained it well. The general condition that we could see as well is that you could practically just put it right back into service. Cleaning and painting, servicing things, just the greasing bearings and making sure the belts are in good shape and so on and so forth.
That sort of thing.
But in a very short period of time, you could have the thing up and running.
How much of the business now, actually maybe not just the business because there's a lot of moving parts to it, but just in your day-to-day, how much of it involves like these plants, these sort of multi-equipment projects versus, the slurry pump that's out back that you're fixing up? Is it still pretty even, or is it a lot more plants these days?
No, I'd still think it's more one piece of equipment at a time because we deal with so many different aspects of business that a lot of times they're just looking for one particular piece, an auger or a pump or a conveyor, a screen deck. They have maybe something that's broken down or worn out. We can maybe source something for them that's going to be, the right fit to just replace the particular item
Right.
that's causing them grief.
Did you notice in like during COVID and that there was some real supply chain issues? Some of our clients that have come on the show, they were having the real challenge. I mean, renting ships to try to get their stuff across because there were so many issues. Did you see opportunities because you would have maybe a pump that was used and it was just available, whereas people were having to wait? I mean, sometimes I was hearing stories of like a couple of years for a plant.
Yeah, plants
just to
would
get-
be that. Even
or even a piece for a plant,
just one
like
piece.
a crusher.
Yeah, 6 months
Yeah.
or something like that. If we had it in stock, we could go through it and have it on their doorstep within a month.
Yeah, and the network you built over the years. Like there's the internet side where people see your website, but there's all these relationships also that are all over the world now. People that have equipment here, and there's yards. You go in someone's. We've done it. We drove back east, and there's just a plant just sitting there. Yeah.
Companies around the world, even advertising stuff on our website. We list the stuff, and in Europe and Australia, South America, North America, obviously, and it's really helped to get more equipment on our website.
Right. Yeah, and just that supply chain it's kind of. It's actually an incredible niche, especially when globally you end up with these supply chain blips, and all of a sudden for a Savona equipment, that's like, no, we've got it here. We've got, like you said, equipment all over the world, and it's just ready.
Yep.
Any other projects that sort of stand out? Any other plants? Anything larger size?
Well, we have big projects on the go right now at selling entire plants. There's one back in Nova Scotia, 300 ton per day gold plant. There's a 3,500 ton per day gold and silver plant down in South America that we have for sale, and actually a 7,000 ton per day gold plant up in Alaska. And I couldn't go through the details
These are
myself.
all these are all for sales. You're not going to say that these are all sold.
No, they're all for sale. And there's tons of information on our website. Countless pictures you can go through to see what the plant consists of. I would encourage anyone that's interested to definitely do that.
Well, I go on, I'll phone Jordan, and I phoned him a little while ago when he was in Germany. I think so.
Oh.
Yeah, when he was gone last week, that's where he was.
Okay.
I think he might have even brought back a dog. But you're not just listing the equipment. You're actually going out there. I saw a video a little while ago of a walkthrough in a plant. I think that was down Latin America. So it's you're not necessarily pulling the wrenches on them, but you're hands-on. You're sending teams down there. You're taking the right pictures and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just people just sending you a picture and you throw it up there, right?
Oh yeah, but in some cases it is. We've traveled to different places. The Jordan went to the 7,000 ton per day plant up in Alaska. I've been to the plant in South America, Uruguay. The first trip down there, a long way to go.
Yeah.
And one of the Jordan actually, and another one of the fellows in the office went back to Nova Scotia to document, picture, video that entire plant.
Yeah, well, I would imagine for the people selling it, I mean, I don't have as much experience with you, but a lot of people that are working in these industries, they're not really on the marketing side of the equipment. So,
No.
they take a couple pictures and go, this is the plant, this is the information, here you go. So you kind of need that a little more hands-on.
Some of the pictures, I tell you.
Oh, I've seen them.
Yeah. You ask them for a picture of a little backhoe like that, they send you a picture of a tire. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and I have been on projects. I've been on projects with Dad, and to go and actually get it all documented properly and take the pictures from even a pump. It's like you got to take it from 3 different angles so people can actually inspect it and all that sort of thing. Over the years, what's a project that sort of stands out to you as, even if it were going back a few years, that just it went well, it was large scale, and it was sold off by piece or it was sold off as a unit? Is there any sort of a project that stands out in your mind?
One of the ones that kind of stands out is we sold or purchased actually the entire assets of Canadian Mine Development's property up in Watson Lake, Yukon. It came basically with everything, the property, the buildings. There was about 100 pieces of major equipment consisting of scoop trams from 1 yard to 8 yard. There was 13-ton and 24-ton underground trucks. There was ventilation fans. There was service equipment for underground crane, mobile crane trucks, scissor lifts, personnel carriers, pumps, drills. I think there had to have been about a half a dozen 2-boom and 3-boom jumbo drills. And North American Tungsten actually wound up purchasing that entire property and the majority of the equipment from us shortly after we acquired it. Before they purchased it, though, we had wound up bringing quite a few pieces back to the yard and refurbished them and sold them to different companies.
Oh, I see. So you sort of piecemealed it off.
We did a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was no processing equipment on that project?
No,
No,
nothing at all.
Were they sending it to a different plant or something?
It went to a different plant up in that area.
Oh,
actually.
okay. Yeah. So they were just doing extraction.
This is all extraction.
Yeah. And so a project like that, like just to paint a picture, like that equipment that came from the yard and was refurbished and then resold. Now, are you refurbishing it before were you refurbishing it and then listing it, or as the inquiries come in, do you quote it as a refurbished equipment?
If there's downtime in the shop, which doesn't seem to happen very often, we'll pick a piece of equipment and we hope it's got the potential to sell relatively quickly. So we'll go through, service it, and do what we have to do to repair it, clean it, paint it, and get it on the market.
But in that case, it was like that Watson Lake. I mean, I was pretty young. I remember hearing it because Jerry would drive up there quite a bit in that project. That was a couple years, right? Like those projects are not.
It was about, I want to say about a 2-year project.
Yeah, and that's pretty typical for something that size.
Oh, that
right?
large, for sure. Yeah.
But then a plant can also sit there for a couple years, and then it's the right person at the right time, and
it's usually how it happens.
Gone. Yeah.
A lot of times it's not just the right fit, but then that person comes along and everything seems to fall into place.
We were on a project. I mean, everybody sees me just sitting in, but I actually can pull a wrench, believe it or not. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. I might be a little weak
when you
now.
say we, you and I.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Dion went up there as well.
Dion.
Yeah. We were out there. Was that in Selma?
It was in Tulameen.
Tulameen, yeah. What was that project? That was a Black Sands project?
It was a Black Sands, was the company name. It was a placer operation. It was a gold process, should I say, for placer.
Yeah.
They approached us on building some equipment for them. We took some hoppers out of the yard and turned them into
the big orange ones.
The big orange ones.
Yeah.
Sloped feeders. 2 of those went up there. We actually put together several conveyors, a 60-foot and a 100-foot truss conveyor.
Right, yeah.
Supplied them some self-priming water pumps they needed for the system as well.
Some magnetic separators? Weren't those from you as well?
Well, they'd purchased those somewhere else.
Those are separate, okay.
Yeah, but they did all this stuff once they were finished. Came back to the yard for us to resell.
Yeah. I remember I was quite young at the time doing that. I mean, I don't even know if I was adult. I might have been in my late teens doing that. I can't remember now, but that was right away.
I remember you standing there watching stuff.
What? Well, I didn't know what I was doing.
You didn't have a shovel in your hand, so you just sort of stood back and watched.
I remember that, though. I remember what I was doing. You were operating, or somebody was operating a crane. There was a crane being operated. And Dion, he was quite handy. And I truly didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
And nobody told. So I went, I'm going to stand way back. Because it was a silo that was getting taken down.
It
right?
was actually a huge dust collection system,
Right.
or they actually referred to it as a thickener.
So I think once you mentioned it to me, I think I just went and grabbed the shovel and went back to the same spot. Just you tell me, I'll go there. But that even at the time, I remember, just as the wheels were turning for business already, it's an interesting business that someone buys the project, you custom build the project, and then a couple of years later, that might be coming back to the yard for resell. That's not that uncommon in Savona.
No, we've had that happen quite a few times. I don't recollect too many of them, but I do remember that one because there was so much equipment that did actually come back, and we wound up turning around and selling it all again.
Yeah, like,
Actually, have you saying that? One of those magnetic separators showed up in an email the other day.
Oh, really?
For the third time for us to sell.
Really? Yeah. This is recent.
Just recent, probably within the last 2 weeks.
Wow. That equipment, most of this equipment that you see, are you able to identify? It's kind of the trick of the trade is actually being able to identify what is saleable. And I sometimes feel like, especially when you're putting together these big packages, you're kind of forced to buy the stuff that's maybe not that saleable because you're buying it in a package.
Yeah.
But can you pretty quickly, generally, like if you see those orange feeders or the separator or whatever it is, do you know pretty quickly if it's marketable? Do you have a pretty good sense of it?
Yeah, you do. I do. Your dad does, Jerry.
Yeah.
Probably better than me, but most of the time it's pretty easy to realize that it's not going to take too much to sell.
What in what categories do you see a lot of movement? Well, actually, I'm going to rephrase that question a little bit. In these projects, what are sort of the replacement parts that are sort of like, is it pumps, motors, conveyors? What do you sort of see people need to plug into existing system in that piecemeal side of the business?
You know, when it comes to that sort of stuff, the electric end, like electric motors are used. They're used the most, really.
Kind of on everything, yeah.
Yeah, and we have a great electrical department that repairs and sells a tremendous amount of electrical.
Yeah.
And that's not just the motors. It's MCC's panels, safety switches, magnetic starters, lots and lots of different things.
Is it on the electrical side? Is it price where you're competitive on that? Because there's obviously a lot of electrical suppliers. We've had them on the show. Mm-hmm. Is it price, availability? Where sort of does Savona fall in the electrical side of things?
We're able to provide good pricing. Many times the parts are hard to find, and again, our electrical department, Cam, can go out into the yard and go, oh, yeah, we got one of those.
Right.
Or he has some good contacts to source a lot of equipment.
Well,
too.
You used to say at Savona you had two of everything. I think then the website got a little bit bigger, so then two of everything was a little hard to keep up with.
Yeah,
but it kind of was like that for a while. If there was a mucker, there'd be another mucker beside it.
Yeah.
But on that electrical side, when you said it's harder to find, is that because like some of this equipment, maybe it's a 20-year-old plant that someone's operating, that kind of thing?
And you can't even get new ones. And sometimes in our warehouse, there's that little box that has that piece that everyone's looking for.
Right. Do you see that because all these acquisitions that have happened over the years, it just especially on the crushing side, and that just everybody gets bought and bought and bought. Does that, so you end up probably with some of these models that, I mean, they're not even that brand anymore. It's that company. Do people call plugging into a system? Is that part of like on the processing side, the crushing side, or is that a little bit different?
It's just hard to find those particular pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
We have some stuff that's quite old in the yard, and usually people turn to me going, do we have this? And I'm kind of confident most of the time to say, yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly where it is.
I mean, for anybody who hasn't, maybe we can bring up some pictures. There's, I don't know, how many acres is there?
I think we're somewhere between 8 and 10 acres.
8 and 10 acres. And it's pretty much full.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Every now and then Jerry's scrapped some stuff, and you can't even tell what's gone.
No.
I'm sure, you're a bit of a tinkerer. You like the old stuff, cleaning it up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that caused some stress for you and Jerry. He walks around with a spray paint.
Yeah,
I love it.
I can't handle it.
I know, that's why I'm bringing it up.
It's usually a week after it disappears. Someone's calling for it. And no, not again.
Yeah, Jerry spray painted it.
Yeah.
But it's so packed in there. To be honest, I can't even tell what's missing. I'll see 5 trucks go away, and that's like it's still full.
Yeah, a lot of companies or customers come into the yard and comment on how neat it is. So
it's over the years. It has got driving by the highway. I mean, it's built up over the years, right? Now all that equipment's lined up, and you can actually see what's there. It's quite impressive, actually, because a lot of the buildings, your overhead crane system that you have, the electrical facility. I mean, that's all still fairly new. It's been over like 10 years. There's been a lot.
Yeah, that's been built up. We were able to purchase a building and set it up in 2014, 2015. 80 by 80 building with 2 overhead cranes, and we've created an electrical storage area and office complex that has really evolved.
It just keeps adding.
And evolved in good ways.
Yeah. Well, Jerry is not capable of staying still.
No.
It's not. He's just not. If he builds one thing, there is going to be another thing coming. Which I love. I mean, he helped me with my first business, and I loved it. I remember I would drive when I was young. I would drive. I was just telling him this the other day. I would drive, be on my way to go do something fun.
Sure.
And he would phone and be that he just got home, and if I wanted to go over the paperwork, he was around. So I would turn the car around, and someone would be mad at me for doing that. But but I just loved it. I love that. Just if he's doing something, we're doing this. And it made it for me. It made for some people it's too much. For me, I just loved it. Mm-hmm. But you're sort of the same way though. You kind of like you actually sent some pictures. We'll bring them up. I mean, if you go into your office, you've got like this little display of all this. I mean, I won't try to explain it. I mean, what is some of the stuff you have on that you've just sort of fixed up over the years?
Yeah. Well, it's stuff that's been in the yard that I knew if I didn't do something with it, Jerry'd spray paint it. And there's some quite unique pieces that I think that you'd never sell it to put it back to service, but. I have a small piston pump that's probably from, I think, the late 30s, maybe.
Really?
Yeah, and just a cool little piece. The electric motor on it runs like a dream. I had to pull it apart, and I don't even know if it had bearings, but it had little brass bushings in it. It was that old, but it runs like a top. I have an air pump that when I did some back history on it, turned out it was almost like an industrial vacuum, and quite the unique little piece too. Again, I didn't do much with it other than clean the majority of the rust off, and then I actually decided just to varnish it, so it actually makes it look very antiquish.
And how old would that be?
That would have been probably somewhere from the 20s.
Really?
Yeah.
So what does that hook up to? What does that run off of?
It could be run off of an electric motor as well. Yeah.
And then it hooks up to like a hose line.
The lines hook up. It would almost like an old-fashioned central air, or not central air, but central vacuum system.
Oh, okay.
An industrial vacuum.
Wow. What's this little one? Is that some sort of like placer thing? We'll be bringing this up on the screen for the audience.
It's actually a D-rocker. I came across a picture of one on the internet one time. I was thinking, well, this is kind of neat. So I brought it home. I got some wood and built one.
Oh, you built this?
I built it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's basically referred to as a D-rocker. They would take it out by a little stream, an old-fashioned sluice box, essentially what it is. But a miner would go
just to get it down to the fines a little bit more.
They would basically you'd take your rock and sand and whatnot, put it in the top of that thing, and you'd shake this thing back and forth, add some water to it. The fines would drop through, to a burlap sack on a piece of wood, it would catch the gold on that burlap sack. The fine stuff, the coarser stuff would go through the bottom of this unit and catch on riffles, and hopefully get some nuggets. It was just something that I thought would be kind of neat to have. So it's on display in the main office.
So you don't have the burlap on here, though.
No, I don't have
That's why
the burlap.
I didn't realize. So this is for the bottom tray is for catching the gold then.
It is.
Yeah.
But again, like the burlap would catch the finer stuff too.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I actually want to ask. You've been in sales a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who's watching has probably tried to sell something or is selling something.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, what have you sort of learned? I always have a professional side that I surprise the guest. I mean, I've learned a lot. But when dealing with clients and they're asking questions, actually, I'm going to break up into a couple. Can you generally tell if a client is, because we talk to our team about focusing on the winners, and I know this can be a little bit of a harsh way of putting it, but you can end up, people that are wasting your time will take up way more time than the person that wants to get it done. If Jerry's calling you to buy something, he's buying it. This is going to happen probably within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The tire kicker is going to, he's going to go out for coffee with you. He's going to talk about you. He's going to show you some pictures of a truck that he used to have like this that he likes, and it's too much. Buy. Over the years, have you gotten quite good at just getting a sense of who's for real and who is asking genuine questions to get things done?
Usually people are quite specific when they need something. You get people coming into a yard, they focus on one piece of equipment and ask for pricing on 10 other items in the yard. You've kind of...
you kind of know.
You kind of know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's you're kind of watching for people that are going, they're zeroed in on something.
Yeah.
What have you learned? You've been in sales then for, if I got my math right, about 30 years. You've been selling. Let's go with what is different. What is different from the 30-year-old salesman to now doing it all these years later? Or do you do it the same?
Try and do the same. Try and sell. And sell them something. Try and determine. I've got a library of information back in my office that I turn to, trying to figure out different things for people. I'm not an engineer, so I can't do everything, but I try and help as much as I can to try and determine if we have something that's going to work for them.
Right. So when you say a library, do you mean what do you mean by a library?
Well, I've got books that I've acquired from years past that has the information on, say, a pump curve to determine if it's going to work for a customer, and of course, in the case of a pump, for instance, there's so many variations of even sometimes the same pump, depending on impeller size and motor speed, and a curve will you're able to maybe get a better sense that it's going to work for them.
Do you, why does the client not know that already? Because are these maybe smaller operations that they don't have an engineer on site or something like? Why would they not know the pump specs?
To me, I always think they should, but I kind of scratch my head saying, why wouldn't they know that? But they just don't.
Well, I guess
someone might actually tell them to, go find a pump.
Right.
Someone in the office is saying, "Go, we need this pump. Go find a pump."
Right.
But then they're scratching their head when I start asking them questions.
I'm working for someone, and they say, "Hey, we need to replace this pump. It's going to give out next month." Okay, great. So I start.
Go find it.
I go online, and I don't even hardly know what it is.
Yeah.
Yes. And do you enjoy that part? What's part of that sales process? Do you enjoy the more? And you can't say the close.
Well, it's always nice to be able to help someone for sure. You feel kind of satisfied at the end of the day if you do close the sale, but it's going to work for them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because I've seen you go into that library of stuff, and you've shown me, I remember, I think it was Muckers. There was some little Muckers out back, and you had a book with all these specs. No, it wasn't Muckers. It was. now I'm going a blank on what they're called. They're the lines that basically pull stuff out. There's these different
Pull stuff out. Slushers.
slushers. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And you had all these different specs. There's different types of slushers and all that sort of thing. Of
Yeah.
course, I don't have the library in my head, but I remember you had just so much information.
Yeah, well, there's lots of different slushers out there. There's
Yeah.
electric ones, air-operated ones, single drum tuggers, double drum, triple
It's
drum.
all coming back to me now.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
But you actually enjoy that. Like when we were talking about it, you were fired up about it.
Well,
Or it seemed like you
well,
were.
like I say, I've learned about lots of different things over the years, so
Yeah.
I try and keep it up there.
Yeah, well, you probably do a better job than me. And then the last thing I'll say is a lot of people, I think I quite often get the credit for Marty the Miner over here on the table because I think I helped with the final design of it. I was like the tail end. But I think it was originally your idea, Marty the Miner. If it wasn't yours, it was yours and Rory. We're talking about it.
Well, I know I came up with a rough idea, and
Yeah.
yeah, you
I jerried it.
you charioted it. Yeah, yeah.
No, but people say about it, and I go, yeah, no, that wasn't me. But it's funny because, and just another little nugget for people that don't know Savona. And a lot of people are learning about Savona that just see the brand everywhere on the show. So,
Yep.
These little guys, this is not a beaver, it's a marmot.
It's a marmot.
And
We have countless of them in our yard.
yeah,
They come out every spring
yeah,
and lay on the equipment.
yeah.
I don't want to mention all the things they do on the equipment, but nonetheless, it gets cleaned off, especially after it gets sold. And, any piece of equipment or anything that gets sold, usually a Marty goes with it.
Yeah.
And the Marty's gone all over the world. We have pictures of mining companies that have, or miners, specific people that have taken pictures of Marty at the side of a trommel or
Yeah.
at a sluice box. My wife and I just came back from a trip to Poland, and I wound up sending one of her cousins a Marty.
Yeah.
Because she liked it so much.
Yeah,
So it
people
was kinda
love
cool.
them. People
Yeah.
love them. They're on the side of your building. There's little cartoon
yeah.
versions of them. It's a lot of fun. David, thank you for finally doing this with us. And I'll thank you off air. So sometimes I feel like people don't think I'm being genuine because the camera's rolling. But no, I really do appreciate it. You've got a lot of knowledge. You've given a lot to Savona equipment, a lot of time to Jerry and you. You've been all over the place, gathering equipment, pulling wrenches, selling stuff. It's quite a history, so it would have been a shame to not have you on the show. So I really do appreciate you driving all the way down here and being in our studio.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. Savona Equipment is a huge sponsor, so you'll be able to find a link to their website easy. If you need anything specific, though, like the plants or anything, we'll try to get those sent over, and those will be in the description, so you can actually go check those things out specifically. Otherwise, just reach out to us, and we'll direct you to the team at Savona. We know them pretty well. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you to all the sponsors. And we will see you on the next episode of Mining Now.